do that too. All right.
Oh, that's a little too much. Is this too wide? Let's see. So it's not really like a face neck.
Hello, Cassie Allen Shultz.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. It looks like we got it going on now. We got you rolling and stuff.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because you are my second guest on Obstreperous Eccentric.
Beautiful. Happy to be here.
Very beautiful. And I'm very glad that you're happy to be here.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay with the mic?
Yes, we good.
How about yourself? Can you hear yourself?
Yeah, I can. It's weird. Very like.
Yeah, everybody's like, the first time they really are. And then what's weird in my case is like I felt the same way, and then people were like, "Oh, your voice is so cool." I'm like, "Really? You think my voice is cool?
Yeah.
It's such a great voice." I'm like,
great
"Okay."
podcast voice.
Oh, thank you. Very good podcast voice. So, Cassie, I met you. I met you. This is the card you gave me.
Yeah.
If you can, right?
Yeah.
She is an amazing artist. How long have you been living in LA?
I moved here in 2012 to go to college at Occidental, and then graduated 2 years ago. So I've been here about 6 years.
You've been living here 6 years. I moved here in 2012, January 24th. Mm-hmm. So I've also been living here 6 years.
From where?
I was living in Livonia, Michigan.
Oh, damn. I'm...
You know Livonia, Michigan?
Well, my mom used to travel there a lot. That name is in my head.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
How come? What did she do to do that?
Well, both my parents are engineers, and now my mom is the only one working.
Social engineering?
Civil and industrial. Yeah.
Where'd they go to school?
My mom went to UT Austin.
University of Texas?
Yeah. And
Cool.
I think my dad went there too. He also went to Purdue. He went to Purdue. He was
Your
working
dad went
in
to
Texas.
Purdue?
Yes. So did my brother.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about yourself? Where did you go to school?
Occidental.
Occidental, I know that. Right. Yeah, Occidental, which is the opposite of Oriental. And Oriental does not mean rugs, really. Oriental has to do with sailing.
East and west.
East and west, exactly. Exactly. So
It's
I've never...
been adapted to many other connotations and uses. Not all of them good. Same.
Where is Occidental College?
It's in Eagle Rock. By
Eagle Rock.
Glendale and Pasadena.
So right down the street.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 25, 30 minutes away.
Where is Purdue?
Purdue is in Indiana.
Indiana from Eagle Rock sounds like a big adjustment.
Yeah. I mean, from Wisconsin to Eagle Rock was definitely a big...
I used to live in Wausau,
Wausau, really?
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. Did you like it?
Well, I had a girlfriend there, and I didn't have a girlfriend elsewhere. And it was very lonely not to have a girlfriend. I still hated it.
Wow.
Well, I'm saying it was very cold.
Dude.
Huh?
A little loud.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. There. Just, I think...
It's, you get closer to the mic, and I'll stay farther away from mine.
Okay. How does that sound?
And I got mine turned way down too already as it is.
Okay.
And yours is way up because you have such a cool little sprightly little fairy voice.
Do I? Depends on what I'm saying.
Fair enough. Did you have a good night the other night at I met Cassie at the Art Walk, downtown LA. It's the second, is that right? Second Thursday each month?
Yeah, every month.
Or is it just during the spring and summer? And
I don't know.
Winter as well?
I started going 2 months ago.
How's your business?
It's developing. I'm learning a lot every time I do something, every time I set up. I learn what works and doesn't work, and then I change my setup to adapt. And
Has that been the same place where you've been setting up?
I set up there once before. So yeah, that was my second time setting
Did
up.
your sales improve the second time over the first?
I would say the second time, I found that setting up at the Art Walk is a great opportunity for exposure. Like, people that I would have never been able to meet come to me, on their own path. As
True, without having to pay rent.
Yeah.
Sort of like being homeless.
Not entirely. But there is something about being on the street and being able to meet people from all over, from all walks of life. People that, and just like setting up the Venice Beach Boardwalk, which I've done a couple times, I just appreciate.
Do you need a permit for either one of those?
No.
Cool.
As of now. Yeah.
And nobody harassed you at either place?
No.
I mean, either public officials or when you, especially downtown, was there any trouble with the indigenous?
What do you mean by indigenous?
Basically the homeless people. I mean, I can say whatever I want about homeless people because I was homeless. That's why I got this place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I pay $62 a month to live here. So I want more people to not be homeless.
I agree.
But at the same...
There are different experiences of homelessness. Yeah.
Oh, really? Elaborate, please.
Well, I don't know what it is like to be homeless, and I have never experienced that before. I guess what I'm referring to is that people can have many things going against them at once, whether it's sexism and racism and other things along those lines. Like, everyone experiences depression differently.
Did you say depression or oppression?
Oppression.
Oppression. So you feel there's a lot of oppression at the moment, or?
Yes.
In what regards?
In regards to pretty much all aspects of society. And I'm learning more about it every day, and I'm also learning about the ways in which I contribute to it, to the many forms of injustice. Like racism, sexism, political, economic. Like, all of these words just point at people living in fear for their lives, not having access to their basic rights, not having access to food, water, shelter, and
who doesn't have access to food, water, and shelter?
People surrounding
everyone on Skid Row has access to all those things. And they don't have to worry.
Yeah, but they may not have access to the basic necessities and basic respect of life. One sugar.
I have a very too loud still? So sorry. Adjust a little bit for you. It's very near and dear to my heart, the things that go on specifically Skid Row, because I live here, but also because I see like both sides of the problem, as opposed to just seeing one side. I feel I see all of the problem. And a lot of the problem is that people that attempt to do acts of good deeds are often misled and miseducated about what is better and what is worse to actually help solve the problem.
What would you suggest to solve the problem?
I'm happy to give you that. But one of the things I asked my guests, artists or otherwise, right, is I wanted to ask them what they thought would be something that could be done to solve the homeless problem in Los Angeles County. But before, I don't think it's fair for me to just throw that on you, right? Whereas I have a quick answer. So instead, while you cogitate that a bit, I would like to discuss the wonderful pieces of art that you've brought.
Lovely.
Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Can we start with the round one?
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was saying that perhaps if you didn't lean so close to the mic, it wouldn't be too loud and we could just have a conversation. You know how it works though, but I'm just...
I know, it's just that my voice is, I got such a weird voice.
Me too.
No, your voice is fine. I mean, as far as like, because it goes
Sprightly,
up.
right?
I was being facetious. I wasn't attempting to be in any way mean.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but you have a very, I have a booming voice.
Yeah.
I have two volumes. I have whisper
Booming.
and then booming.
Yeah.
And when I get excited, I don't have control over.
That's good though.
Not if you're trying to sneak up on somebody or. In
Or-
certain cases,
or
it's not.
interviewing for a podcast.
Let me know when I'm too loud. Okay.
Okay, I will.
I mean, if you see my level, this is my mic, right?
Okay.
And it's almost at 2.
Yeah.
And yours is over here is at 8, 7.
Wow.
I'm just saying I don't mean to be booming.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So this was the piece of art that you first caught my eye with as
yeah.
I was walking
Yeah.
because I was like, wow, I love round art. Could you give us a good,
Well, let's see here.
which, yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Does that work?
Move it back a little. I'll turn you up just a little. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very well framed. Go right ahead.
Cool. Could you?
How long has it been since
Okay.
you painted that?
I finished this one in February.
Of this year.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes. It was one of my
So it's
most
not
recent
even 3 months old.
ones. Correct. Yeah.
Thank you so much for painting that.
Thank you.
Is it easier or harder to paint a piece of art in a circle?
The way, I think not easier nor harder, just different. Because the way that I did it was I rotated it gradually as I was working on it, so that it sort of is balanced in every direction.
It is. That's
But
why it was so hard for me to figure out what the top and the bottom was.
I mean, there's one that I
in your head
chose
there is, right?
because honestly, I feel like the painting, a little bit, yeah. The painting today, I'm thinking about how it's going to look photographed because I always will photograph it to share it through Instagram or my website, and I think that's
What's your Instagram?
same as my name.
Go ahead, tell
I
them.
think that's, I'll say in a moment.
It's all right. I won't interrupt you. Apologies. You were talking about the circular nature and how you kept it all, like spinning it, and then
it's balanced from every angle.
Balanced.
And, oh yeah, I was saying today the image is so important. We're in an image-based society now, and so I think about how I'm going to arrange it. But I have an idea.
Image-based society.
Yeah.
It's so funny you said that because I had an argument with my, because I had to be on YouTube. My podcast had to be on YouTube because to me without visual, it's just not real. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that, to older people, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, I just think...
So I'm glad you said that, because you backed me up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What's the name of that piece?
Oh, opening of eyes. But the eyes, the S is in parentheses, so
Right.
it's opening of eye as well as opening of eyes. So one eye. I'm learning more about that.
Third eye?
Yeah.
Is it about the third eye opening?
I just started painting and a bunch of eyes came out of it, so...
I know. That's
And
why
as
I
I-
really that was the first thing that caught me about it was the eyes.
Yeah, yeah. Eyes are such powerful symbols ancient symbols and the window to a person.
It made me
The
think of
window
the
out
song.
of which comes their spirit.
Sorry. Here you go. This is for your coffee. There's a little table. Right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Because
Andrew.
coming to Skid Row, make no mistake, Cassie is a lovely 24-year-old artist who was nice enough to come down, bring her artwork, 5 pieces of art for y'all to look at. She's only my second episodic guest,
Yes.
only the third Obstreperous Eccentric. The first was, of course, the preamble thing that we had at, are you familiar with, hold that. Okay.
Yes.
Are you familiar with that?
I
Fifth
know
and
it's close
Spring?
by.
Fifth and Spring on Sundays?
No, I haven't been to it.
I highly recommend
What
it.
time is it from?
Like 9 until 3? Yeah, they extended it. 9 until 3?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Check it out.
And the name of the piece is Eyes.
Opening of eyes.
Opening of Eyes. Is that sweet enough?
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, good?
Yeah.
Okay. I really like that painting.
Yeah.
And with your,
What do you like about it?
well,
You said the eyes caught your attention.
that caught my attention when I started looking at it, but what it caught my attention from the distance was the colors. And I am a big, huge fan of bright, vibrant color.
Yes.
And because
Me too.
personally, you too, excellent. Well, I mean,
Which
I
I've
have done a lot of psychedelics in my life. Can you still hear me pretty good?
Oh yeah.
You can, right? That's what's so crazy.
perfectly well.
And I'm like 5 feet away from the microphone.
Yeah.
So, I've done a lot of psychedelics in my life,
Yes.
and I feel that the colors have, for me personally, made it so that depression and me are not, closely related anymore.
Yeah.
And that before that was the case.
Yeah.
And I can basically re-trip or kind of make myself feel like I'm on a psychedelic of some kind
Through color.
through art and through color.
Yeah.
That's what that made me.
Yeah.
You made me trip basically as I was walking downstairs. I was like, whoa!
I mean, I haven't done acid.
Well,
We're talking about how mushrooms are.
mushrooms and acid
Yeah.
are like the difference between graphic art and finger painting.
Interesting. So through that, it's a hierarchy where the mushrooms are not as high.
Why would you say that?
Because
Would you think that graphic artists would be higher than finger painting?
the way you chose those two things, that's what I thought about.
Okay.
I guess there would be people that would characterize graphic design. Yeah, I think there's an element of skill, technicality that comes into it.
For me, mushrooms is more, in general, is more of a dirty high for me. And LSD is a clean high for me.
Interesting.
And when I say dirty, just the way my body feels. Now, it's not always the same for everyone. I know people that say that they get nauseous on LSD. But mushrooms almost always make me nauseous. And I don't really like nausea too much.
Not fun.
No, I mean, if you're out there in YouTube land and you like nausea and that you can't, function without it, well, good for you. But for me, not my
Yeah.
bailiwick.
I feel you on the colors, though.
You feel me on the colors. But how do mushrooms make you feel physically?
Well,
Specifically, we're talking about psilocybin mushrooms.
indeed, yeah.
not Amanita mosquita. And we're also, not talking about any other mushroom. We're talking about psilocybin cubensis.
Correct. I'd say that my high is very physical too. Like,
in your body, you mean?
yeah.
So,
it's hard to explain. I don't know.
What do you see?
I see fractals everywhere.
Fractals,
Moving.
excellent.
And
Fractals is good.
Infinite,
I see
vibrant colors.
spinning colored tubes.
I see, yeah, I've seen that before. Like, where I'll look up into the sky and there will be repetitive patterns of beams of light, holographic, in spiral patterns shooting and reaching me. Yeah, it's a lot. But that's what I feel like, that source, what makes you trip, is what I'm channeling when I paint. That's why they're so vivid.
I'm fully
intense.
on board. Are you familiar with Alex Gray?
No.
Not familiar with Alex Gray art?
I knew an Alex Gray, but no, I don't know.
Okay.
I think. Unless it's the super trippy, beautiful, vivid
It is.
ones. Okay.
Alex Gray. I mean, I'll get my favorite up real quick on my phone. I could, if I was smarter, I would do it on the computer, but I'm afraid that I'll mess up the computer.
Yeah.
And we're going good right now, so last thing I want to do. But Alex Gray, I got to watch him paint live with. Do you know who John Barlow is?
No.
John Barlow is one of the lyricists for the Grateful Dead. So he worked mainly with Bob Weir, but I guess he worked with all of them. And so John Barlow, he ate like a quarter ounce of mushrooms in front of everybody at this party at Alex Gray's studio in New York City, and then sat and watched Alex Gray paint.
Sounds amazing.
It was
Is there
awesome.
video of it?
After the show, it was after a show, and here we go, Alex Gray.
I'd love to see. I have to pee. I'll be right back.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
I'll just, it's not a problem. Here, let me just shift the camera over towards me a little bit. Hey! Don't assume that she's peeing on the other end of the camera. No, she's in the bathroom. Thank you very much. Hello all. Jem here. That's G-E-M. And B-O-B, Jim Bob. And we're here, episode 2 of Obstreperous Eccentric, and that's me. I am obstreperous, and I'm an eccentric. Unfortunately, I wish that I could be mainstream, because I feel that if more people were like me in many ways, maybe not the obstreperous part, but the other things, that the world would be, more congenial, happening, happy place. But we're here, episode 2 of the Obstreperous Eccentric, with Cassie Allen Shultz, a wonderful visual artist. We're just discussing her first piece of art that I saw that caught my attention, and she's having a break for bladder relief. And, I got a giggle out of her for my description of peeing. So that's good. I always like that. I always like giggles. And we had this as well that was made by Lupe. If you guys can see that. Can you guys see that? That is Obstreperous Eccentric YouTube channel cake. So, yeah. And, I hope you're out there enjoying this, and if you're watching it later at a later time, I hope you enjoy it as well. I'm not really viewing it very much. I got somebody telling me to give him a call. I'm like, I am on YouTube now, is what I'm telling them. I'm on YouTube now with, I wish I could type better, faster, with Cassie Allen Shultz. Hey, what do you feel about keys, Cassie?
Black Eyed Peas?
Like a key to the city.
Feel good about it. Isn't that what you're?
Yeah, they don't have a
called?
They don't have a trademark or is it a trademark? Yeah, trademark. They don't have, so if you wanted a chance to make them up a key, that would be okay. Ready? Put your yeah. Okay, ready? We'll get you back on the camera.
Okay.
I showed them the cake. Yeah, they like the cake.
Yep.
All right,
It's a great cake. Okay.
How's the coffee?
It's great. Thank you.
I'm just telling Bob from Key to the City to check out, you're streaming right now, and tell me how it looks and how it sounds.
Cool. You should send me the link to that video. Is that their video of the painting and the guy is on mushrooms and he's painting?
Oh, this right here.
Yeah.
That's what I'm showing you right now. This is what I was showing you.
At some point, maybe not.
Well, not when we're podcasting, right? But let's see. Ready? Here we go. And come on, man. What? All right. Sometimes it doesn't want to.
Message me the link. Maybe.
Here you go. There you go. Now go ahead and go through this work. That's
yeah.
That's who you thought it was, right?
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah.
It's amazing, right? Show them what you're looking at.
All of these, classic.
Brilliant, right?
True. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, right?
So
anyway, that was your first piece. That's what I was thinking about your first piece. Is I put you on par with this as far as like bang?
I'd say, yeah, the colors are akin to it, and the structure. Each piece is very geometrically structured, and I feel like I'm learning. Every time I paint, I learn something new, and I'm witnessing it happen even when everyone else is too. I don't know what's going on, but I'm learning, and it feels like there's an underlying geometry to my pieces, and I think it reflects.
This is probably one of my favorites of his.
When you said fractals, right?
Yes.
About being on mushrooms, right? The thing is, fractal, it's a math term, and the reason I knew about fractals was from computer mathematician when I was in college when they first came out, as far as the knowledge of the math, because they use that to better accurately map and measure coastlines. Because a fractal is just the same as you go smaller, it goes smaller and
right, infinite regression.
Look how smart she is! You gave me the right terms.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know them. Thank you. Infinite regression, is that what it's called?
I think so. I'm learning too, but it's. I don't know if you've seen any of those fractal videos, but it shows them in lifetime. Anyway, I see. Yeah, it all is connected. I think.
How old were you the first time you ate mushrooms?
Would have been 20.
20, okay. The first time I ate LSD, I was 16 or 17. And
sounds like my brother.
Yeah. And it was I got 2 hits off somebody I worked with. And I worked all the time, and I dropped out of high school when I was 16, and so I was working 70 plus hours a week as a 16, 17-year-old. I still lived with my parents, but I paid them rent, and of course they still wanted to tell me what to do, but they took my money. Anyway, Obstreperous. So I bought 2 hits from him. I ate one. And of course, classic, didn't feel anything.
So
I ate the other one.
2 tabs.
Of acid, yeah, for the first time. And
wow.
It was amazing. It was wow. It was amazing. It was so cool. And it was like
like at one point, I'm back home by this point, because it was at work that I did this. Like I wasn't working that night, but I went to work and to hang out, right? And before I knew it, work was over. They were all done. That's how quick time went, right? I mean, at one point I was maniacally laughing in the clothes section in the back, and they're trying to wait on tables out front, right? And so anyway, I'm back home. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I've been watching Empire Strikes Back. Are you familiar with Star Wars at all? Universe, a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was the second movie, episode 5. Empire Strikes Back, probably the best one, I would think. And it was the scene, you know, where he tells Luke that he's his father. And I stood up in my chair. I was like, "No, Luke, don't do it!" Right? You know, and you know, I'm screaming at the TV when my mom came in. "What are you doing?" I was like, "What? Nothing," and sat back down. But that was my memorable experience. My first trip on LSD.
Wow.
What about your first trip on mushrooms?
My first trip was with my friend.
20.
Oh, I guess maybe I was 21. It was in college.
Is this painting you're pulling out in inspiration from it?
No, but I just wanted to show another.
No, I want you to show all of them.
And that's a story for another time, actually.
The first trip?
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. Here's another one of that I really like. This one right here is the one that's on her card.
It is.
Right?
Yeah. This is the first one I painted of this.
And again, I didn't ask you earlier on the other one, but is that the same kind of paint as the other one uses?
Yeah.
And that is?
It's oil paint.
Oil.
I sort of created my own style with using it kind of with a watercolor technique. So I'll use the brush thinner to
I really like
cause
that.
it to drip, and use the white of the canvas behind it and take off layers in a subtractive method. Oh, it's so big.
How old is that one?
This one, I think I finished in November of last year. So
Right.
it's a bit older.
Cool.
But this is the first shot at, I just started painting without thinking, and this happened.
This is like a freestyle.
Yeah, and my approach grew out of that freestyle feeling, which I don't really like painting any other way.
I don't want you to.
Yeah.
Because that's amazing right there.
Yeah.
I would concur that you shouldn't paint any other way. That's your style, and it works well. And the name of that one is?
Life.
Nice. Yeah. If you're lucky, your life's like that. I don't know which way this one's up. That one had a painting on the bottom right. This one doesn't. But this one is very striking.
Yeah, I can show that one too.
Okay.
You can find images of all of these pieces on my website, which is just my name.
Cassie Allen Shultz.
Yeah. Here's this one. This one I finished.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay, I got it.
You got it?
Mm-hmm. This one's not varnished yet.
Another brilliant piece. Is this one Afterlife?
Yes, this one.
So that one was another freestyle?
This one I finished in March. Yeah. Another freestyle, but I was experimenting with using different scaffolding, starting out with different structures, in this case a circle, and allowing the style, these forms to grow on it organically. So I started here.
Right.
In an arc, and then moved this way. Or actually kind of zigzag around with different sections.
Did that take you to create?
Probably, maybe like 4 or 5 sessions.
Each session
about
being
2 hours each, and then over the course of a couple months.
Wow.
Like I'll have several different paintings going at once, and then
like
come back
Basquiat,
to
right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I just thought I'd
Like,
throw that out there
any
for you.
artist, wow, to be even named close to him is an honor. But
Well, I'm saying I really like your paintings. Okay, now
Yeah,
this one is
me too.
called
Worship.
Worship. Okay.
Yeah.
Now this one was like life, and worship, they go together, and the eyes one is like a combination of both of them to me, okay? And then, if you don't mind, I'm going to go to the very biggest painting, and then I'm going to save the other one for last, right?
Right.
Okay, so this is the biggest painting, and this one is, to me, like a combination of life, worship, and all the darkness in a person's soul.
Well, yeah. People definitely have said
This one is dark as all get out for me. All right. So this is what.
Yeah.
Here, let's.
we should turn the
You should
camera.
stand. Okay, that's a good way to do it. Yeah, let's turn the camera.
while you're there.
All right, perfect. I don't know. Let's make sure it has a light. Yeah. There we go. To me, I think that was a pretty accurate description. There you go. That was a pretty accurate description. I really like this piece.
Me too. Thank you.
I'm saying all your work, I enjoy it, but this piece, because I told you I'm in reading Jordan B. Peterson and seeing him on YouTube, and and also studying as well with him as Jordan B. Peterson is Carl Jung, Jungian. All right.
Yeah.
So this, represents a combination of your life and your worship paintings, with showing life and worship with the shadow included.
Right. Represented by and black.
I'm saying I really like this piece, and the name of this one is
Love at First Sight. Because as it completed itself, it felt like two beings meeting, and there's a reaction between them.
That's great.
Yeah.
When was this one done?
Finished that one probably. It's all on my website. I don't exactly remember, but that one was from last year.
Okay, last year.
Yeah.
Again, I really enjoy this one, and this one is called Love at First Sight. And it's actually amazing that the other two were done after this one.
Life was done before, and
it
then
was?
this one, and then.
But Eyes was done after, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And Eyes, yeah.
So Life was done before this one. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, Life was the first one of this series.
Eyes of the World. I mean, not Eyes of the World. That's great for that song. Sorry, Eyes and Worship were both done after
this one.
After this one. Yeah, just amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for painting it. Okay,
I feel like.
What do you feel?
This one really showcases the different forms that I've been noticing when I paint. I paint like instinctively with these different shapes and patterns, and there's these which are bursts, and then everything feels like it is sitting on a grid, and that's what I was talking to you a bit about before with the geometry that comes into my work, and I believe how that mirrors the geometry present in nature.
Yeah.
So as I paint, nature paints through me using the same patterns and logics found in the natural world.
Just like oil is your genre, nature uses you as their genre to
nature
express.
Uses plants and me and flowers.
To express its nature's self.
To express natural law through beauty.
I really like
Yeah.
this painting as well. You brought all the ones that I wanted you to bring, specifically.
I remembered which ones you were drawn to, so I brought them.
All right, now let's wait for just a second to show the last one, because the last one is what I would consider to be slightly different, but at the same, to say that it's different doesn't mean that it's not. I mean, it is of its own.
It's from my first series, that's why it's so.
But I'm saying it has its own super attraction. So these are from second series.
Yeah.
Okay. How is the coffee, by the way?
Still great.
All right. So it's checking on the time. It's 5:48. What I was going to do is I was going to start omelets. Could you eat?
Yeah.
We have until I can get them all done and have it eat and everything done and you be out here by 7.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, coming up. So, put the camera on me. It's right there. I got it right there, already secured.
Cool.
Let's just put that one. There we go. Let's make it so they can still hear you. All right. Okay. All right. And you let me know that they can definitely hear me no matter where I am.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
All right. So my plan is that I'm going to make. You're a vegetarian, which I respect. So I asked you if you had any dietary restrictions, and thank you for letting me know that you're a vegetarian.
Yeah. Well, I
but
mean, what we
you would have
talked
eaten.
about.
You would have eaten. See, she's
Yeah.
the height of politeness, because she said she would have eaten meat or whatever I had prepared because that's what the polite thing to do. Why would? But since I let her, asked. She let me know, so I'm making something vegetarian. You know who else would do that? Would come to your house and would eat whatever you prepared, even though he was a very vegan, I guess, or maybe even,
Yeah, probably.
the Buddha. So she's way up there in my book for that. So it's just when you think of
Gotcha.
Cassie Allen Shultz, what you want to do is you want to combine like the Buddha and Basquiat with. She's like, dude, stop.
No, I'm okay. The thing is that the scary and beautiful and cool thing about it is that the more I create, the more I recognize the genius within me, and do so in a way that's not narcissistic, but in a way that accepts how the creative spirit, the divine spirit, is alive in me, and that if I get out of its way, it will do its work through me. And so, let's not say lightly those things, but I mean, I'm not.
I never say
discounting
anything
it.
lightly. That's the thing.
I don't know where this will take me, but I know it feels good to just be and allow myself to be as a person, as an artist. So I'm going to keep doing that, see where that goes, but I think that's what united Basquiat, Buddha, anyone who had something beautiful to share.
Go ahead. What about sharing beautiful?
Yeah, that's what links them. I think that's what genius is, being true to the gift within you that you can't help but share.
But there's not, but that would be like a beneficial genius, and there's some evil geniuses. That's
True.
all. The world gets a few people like you, but most of the geniuses are kind of assholes.
Well, I try to think about what each person, what's their life experience been like? How has life treated them? What have they lacked in their life that maybe contributed to them acting certain ways later? And how were they traumatized? How were they hurt? Or what were they taught in their environment, myself included, growing up? What were they sheltered from?
You said it once. Say it again. Where you grew up again was
Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Sheboygan. See, if the low setting will make it so that we're still able to be here. I'm getting ready to make some omelets because she's not vegan, thank God. Okay.
Dude, I mean, I'm pretty much. I want to approach being vegan soon.
Okay. Veganism. You know who else was vegan? His birthday's tomorrow. You know whose birthday is tomorrow that was a vegan?
No.
Adolf Hitler. Did you know he was a vegan?
Cool. What are you
That was pretty funny. Cool. I'm a vegan like Adolf Hitler. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, it's just like, what are you trying to say with that statement?
Well, I'm actually not trying to say anything too much extra because it pretty much says it all right there.
I mean, Adolf Hitler was a painter too.
He was, and he had some skills. Unfortunately, a committee of 4 at the Viennesian or whatever School of Art deemed him unworthy to study there, and then bad things happened, But at the end of the day, Hitler killed what, 10 million people? Mao killed 100 million. You know? And we don't hear a lot about the bad issues of go ahead.
The whole cultural revolution that Mao set into motion was sustained by so many people, but
it was wrong,
mean, like
right?
the U.S. government killed millions of people as well, and also kills them socially and emotionally through jail every day. Hundreds of millions of people. I think there's 70 more times jails in the U.S. than anywhere else in the world. We lead our imprisonment of people far beyond any other country.
What is the other viewpoint? Why we need so many prisons?
Huh?
Well, why do you think we have so many jails and we have so many?
Because there was a concentrated effort to transition the way that you enslave and oppress people from being codified into law through slavery, being abolished, but then becoming part of society through Jim Crow, and then other racist and other classes' policies that altered the face of it, of imprisonment, but it remained the same the way it oppressed people.
Did you ever think maybe it was because there's such an openness to the United States that there's a lot of openness to the United States. See, you got to understand the United States is a country of immigrants. So that
correct.
It's not one homogenous. It's a melting pot.
It's a melting pot, but it's a highly segregated melting pot that has remnants of being built upon the slave system, which affected the economy so strongly it determined that, as well as how we police and imprison people. The prison system is the legacy of slavery. The people mostly affected by it are black and brown Latino people, women who are incarcerated at a lot higher rates than their white counterparts. Statistically. So I'm saying the reason there are so many prisons. Oh shit.
See if I can do it.
Hey.
Almost perfect.
Yeah.
Not quite. Sorry. So, it's interesting that you would say that because now the drug war has been a very detrimental effect of incarcerating our own citizens.
Young black men.
Well,
mostly.
sorry.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. Men are who gets incarcerated because men are the ones that have the highest propensity to violence. More so than women.
No.
Yes, absolutely.
I disagree.
No. Well, violence that can hurt someone.
It's reflective of the system around, not of their individual character.
No. Mankind, for hundreds of thousands of years, has been a very combative warrior. You know, that's what we are.
Well, that's from the history lessons from our history books. That's who we learn about. But there have been societies demonstrated.
Sorry.
There have been societies and ways of living from millennia ago that are matriarchal, that share power, that are not violent.
Which ones?
The ones that we don't learn about. Indigenous communities that lived in different ways than this, male-dominated thinking and acting type society.
I am very interested in what you were saying, and I am so sorry this conversation started in the middle of me making the omelets, because I would be paying this part of the conversation I would be paying much more, and I apologize for that, okay? But I really love cooking, and it's something I do generally pretty well.
I enjoy cooking as well. I've been cooking a lot more lately.
Do you live with your parents? No, you don't live with your parents. Your parents are in Wisconsin? Where do they live out here?
Oh, they live in Wisconsin and Chicago. So I don't live with them.
Cool.
Yeah.
How long have you been living away from your parents?
Since I left for college 6 years ago.
So from 18?
Yeah.
Nice. When I was 17, I left and joined the Army. And then when I got out of the Army, 2 years later, I went to college. So
how long? Okay, so you were there for 2 years.
2 years, 1 month, and 8 days. And it was such a trying experience that it, being in the military, it transformed my life in many ways. And I believe in my life like Nietzsche did, as far as like ego. I'm trying to think of the term. Anyway, I believe that what I am is what I should have been, or I mean, I respect that my life needed to unfold the way it did.
Everything happens for a reason.
To create me.
Right.
Not necessarily everything happens for a reason. Just coincidence.
Every point from before you until you led up to your existence in an exact way.
Well, see, I'm a multi. I'm a multiverse person, right? So I actually believe in that there's multiple universes.
Have you read The Golden Compass? It's one of my favorite series.
The Golden Compass, I know about it. It's about, go ahead, describe.
It's about a young girl who lives in, I think, like early 1900s Cambridge, Oxford, and then there's also parallel universes in that book.
I think I did read at least part of that.
Yeah, and she meets an armored bear.
Yeah, I did. I think. Yeah, I totally read that. And everyone has a little animal that runs around with them, right? Damon, right? Yeah, I know that story. Yeah, great story. I love that story.
It's an external manifestation of their subconscious, or their spirit, in animal form that can change into any form.
Right.
It's amazing. But yeah,
it's an amazing story. Yeah. Well, what about that one?
Billions of universes exist layered in the same reality in that story, in that world, so they can be accessed. In the second book, it's The Subtle Knife.
I finished the first one.
You should read that shit. And then after that, the Amber
If you have a copy, I'll happily borrow it.
I don't, unfortunately, but it's one of my favorite series from my childhood growing up. I loved reading it now.
I'm reading this right now, and this was suggested by Jordan B. Peterson.
Is it about the Great Depression?
It is about
poverty and mass unemployment in the industrial north of England.
Well, what I like about that, and what he liked about it, why he suggested it, is because George Orwell was a big Marxist, socialist, communist or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But so they paid for him to go and write a story about poverty. So what happened though is he went and he wrote the story about poverty, right? But he didn't write it propaganda style. Right. I mean, like, he addressed everyone.
All sides.
All sides. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how you know that you have someone fair. That if they're if they'll be critical of their own way of thinking.
Exactly.
And if you won't be critical of your own way of thinking, that means that you are an ideologue.
You're on the wrong side.
You're an ideologue.
Yeah.
And it means that you have been possessed by an idea. Okay, which is that's what Jung said. Jung says is that people think they have ideas, but ideas have people in many cases. And the rarity of an original thought is pretty rare.
And if you're not willing to question your attachment to an idea, then it can become
pathological.
Dogmatic, yeah.
Yeah, very bad.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see Antifa. Antifa. I mean, the name says it's anti-fascist. I've been big discussion with my English friends about this. But any group, see, to me, it's the brown shirts versus the red shirts from the 30s. Are you familiar?
No.
In Germany, following their loss in World War I, the Germans lost, and they lost, and they were saddled with all these war reparations, where basically England and France expected them to pay for the war, even though they'd all been involved, right?
Yeah.
And they've faced hyperinflation. So after all these people died in the war, and then the fucking flu came and wiped out however many, do you remember how many it was? Like some 100 million people worldwide or something, right? That flew after the First World War. Then they experienced hyperinflation, where by the, like, they had the one story about the guy, he spent his entire pension from 35 years of work on a cup of coffee.
Whoa.
Because that's how bad the inflation, like, people with wheelbarrows of cash, right?
Yeah.
And this is basically what led to World War II. It is what led to World War II, at least in the European theater.
The mounting tension and conditions
Well,
they're having to pay those reparations.
Well, no, that's not possible. I mean, that won't, they had to restart. They had to reboot.
Yeah. I was going to toss it over there, but... What?
I'm embarrassed because I forgot the spinach for the spinach omelet, so that's why I had a little setback. And then I dropped the lighter in the
cake.
On the cake.
But shit happens.
Hey, it does if you're lucky. If not, then So.
You've seen
Go ahead.
Eternal Sunshine of
The Spotless Mind, yeah. Jim Carrey, one of my favorite actors.
I just watched that I watched it when I was little, but I forgot it, so I really watched it for the first time.
What's the movie saying?
Amazing.
What's the movie saying? What's the basic premise?
Well, this
saying
guy...
ignorance. No, not the synopsis. The premise is the motto, the moral.
Not bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. Not. Because without the ignorance, then you have no knowledge of your life. I mean, if you have ignorance of then you have no knowledge, and without knowledge, then you've done nothing, right?
True. Yeah. Better to have loved and lost
than to never have loved, right?
Yeah. I think another interesting thing too is that I don't know if you thought the same thing, but to me, every different color of hair she had represented each different timeline that they had together. So 4 times they each got their memories erased but found themselves back together, and it's part of their spirit to keep being who they are and to just
absolutely
be attracted to the same soul.
Of course, that is. I mean, the movie's quite a treatise on love.
Yeah.
In a real way.
Yeah.
And life.
Yeah.
I think. Now, I have been on a diet for, well, basically since August, serious, like heavy. But since I moved from Livonia to here, I have lost over 90 pounds.
Beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
Congrats.
And since August, when I really started to focus in on it, I have lost 60, 65 pounds.
Wow.
And I'm still trying to get to my goal weight of 193, because that'll mean that I have at least lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
Because I can't remember if my top weight was 293 or 297. So if I get to 193,
104.
Or 100 at least, right? Yeah. But it also means, because when I was in the Army, I was supposed to, and I was 18, 19, 17, 18, 19, I was supposed to weigh max 195 pounds, which I never got, right? And I'd like to get it.
Yeah,
at 193, right? And then at 193, I plan on really hitting the gym and having, because muscle weighs more than fat,
Correct. Yes.
And really pumping myself up. And I'm telling you all that because I've given up like carbohydrates almost entirely. Like I had to go to the top to get this out.
Yeah.
And like I gave up. Like the only time that I eat regularly now is ganja food. That's the only carbs I usually eat.
Yeah.
Like
That's a good thing to save it for, right?
I think.
I have bread every day. I have like 4 pieces of bread a day.
Well, but you're not overweight. You're not.
My
You're
body's at a comfortable rate.
You're not having
that,
issues. Like with me, I have fibromyalgia. This means that I am in pain a lot. And one of the things that they said, you should do this, and I'm like, okay, what? They're like, you lose weight. So I've been losing weight.
Well, you've done an amazing job. Like I'm almost 100 pounds. That's incredible.
Close. I'm almost to 100. I'm so excited to hit 100.
Yes.
All right. There's the spinach. Spinach omelets. Okay. And then. Thanks for being easygoing about the podcast.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate it. Some people have very particular views about how this or that should be done, and that's sometimes difficult for me to deal with. I mean, I have
it's your show, so.
Thank you. I have difficulty with humans often.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That can be the case.
Yeah.
I feel a certain affinity to humans in general.
Oh no, I feel affinity, but
sport with them.
I really get on people's tits. I mean, I really irritate the hell out. I'm obstreperous. I can't,
Yeah. Have you, maybe taken an opportunity to see what you could change?
I have, and I never should change. Never. That's what I realized. Because to be an upstanding, moral, ethical person and have people, that's just what's going to happen if you're an outstanding, moral, ethical person. If you refuse to be fake. It's just the way it is.
So, yeah, one of my good friends talks about the continuum between integrity and success.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which he's had a painting career of 50 years. His name is Ernesto de la Loza. He's a local artist who's really led the mural movement the past several decades in LA. A lot of his work is all over the city. And
what's his name again?
Ernesto de la Loza. Yeah, he is a fine artist, studio painter, and muralist. And I've been sitting in his studio with him. He's helping me out with a project, but yeah,
Where's his studio?
It's in Echo Park. He's been there for.
I'm trying to find the business card of the. I walked around around this area, and I went and I talked to a bunch of artists or not just artists, just business owners in general. And I met this artist named Diego, and I was going to share. He's in. Are you familiar with Santee Court over here?
No.
Santee Court's a cool little because it's not so crazy. I mean, because when you're in Skid Row, like you have to be careful about where you are, what time of the day.
Yeah.
Especially as a woman.
Exactly.
I mean, even me as a guy, and I'm not that small, I still am very. I mean, like this, I walk around with this.
I saw that. Yeah.
Because there's not just the people. There's a lot of pit bulls down here. And I have a little dog, and like last summer, 2 pit bulls got out of their enclosure and killed the guy's little dog that was this same size as mine, and seriously mauled the guy before the cops shot the dog. And they tried their best not to shoot the dogs, right?
Yeah.
So this is. I hope that didn't stress you out. I meant to mention that to you earlier, but.
Well, I saw it, and then I was like. Yeah. It's just part of the situation,
Yes, it is. Which is one of the reasons that I would like. So tell me. So you thought about it a little bit, right?
Right. I guess
What did you think about homelessness? What was your thought on how to solve it?
Oh, yeah. You know, and it connects to the other conversation we were having about the prison system.
Right.
So, for example, right now there's a bill proposed for a $3.5 billion jail expansion in LA County, which LA is already the capital of prisons in the country. It has the most prisons of any other city, most largest number of imprisoned people, and I think a concrete thing is to not put that money towards building more jails, but rather reinvest it back into society to provide. And I know there's been a lot of programs and all these things, but I think we have to address the root, not the symptoms. And the root of the problem is that injustice, that inequality is woven into the very fabric of American society. So it has to be addressed at every turn. In order to end homelessness, we need to target altogether environmental injustice, racism, sexism, gender inequality, transphobia, Islamophobia, xenophobia of any kind, fear-based oppression. That I think homelessness is the symptom of. What I'm talking about is really just revolution on all fronts.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
but one thing, concrete step that could be done is to take that $3.5 billion.
$3.5 billion?
Yes, and put it into programs and building infrastructure for community centers for access to art, music, healing.
You know that there's a bill for the mental health.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about, for mental health prisoners to build a mental health facility?
Yeah, I mean, that would be incredible, because the crazy thing is that the LA jail system is also the largest mental health system in the world, in the country.
Which doesn't say much, huh?
Well, it says that people who are vulnerable, who need help and to have their issues addressed in terms of like rehabilitation instead of persecution, punishment. Like, they need to go to a rehab program, or they need just medical care instead of being in a jail. And it's the cycle continuing, and there should.
Do you think anyone should be in jail?
I think that violence and crime are also symptoms of a diseased society that fails the people that are most vulnerable. So I think eventually, no, there should be no prisons. They should be abolished, and we should be living by a different structure where.
What's the structure we would be living?
Through community and recognition of each person's inherent worth and value as a person.
Okay.
Which is an unalienable right. So,
you have some really, really good opinions.
Well, I'm learning how to express them, and thank you for asking me and allowing us to have this conversation.
Yeah, I love to talk about it, because without talking about it, it never will be successfully achieved,
Yeah, right. What we say, in effect, becomes what is.
Right? So, right now, there's this woman I know that is on the neighborhood council, right? And she wants to stop the building of the mental health facility that you were talking about. Now, I am of two opinions. Because on the one hand, I know a lot of the crazies down here.
Right.
There's already a lot of mental health facilities out down here, right?
Have you been into any of them?
I have.
I'd be interested to see.
I have been. I have. And I have to tell you that, full disclosure about myself, that, they wanted me to go to see mental health, So I went and saw mental health. And the first one I went to was over here at the corner of 6th and Maple. And it was extremely traumatic to go in there because I would go in there and they would basically search you, right?
Yeah.
I don't like to be searched. I don't like to be touched in aggressive, authoritarian manner.
Exactly.
No, thank you. I don't like people to feel that they have a right to put their hands on my body.
Exactly. No one should ever have to feel that.
Right? Don't you feel that that's not appropriate?
No.
So, I couldn't continue to go and speak. So then, they put me on with, because I had an iPad at that point. They would actually give you an iPad for this program. And then you could speak to this therapist via the iPad, right? And then after you spoke with them, if you didn't have one, you would just turn it back in. Okay? And I tried that as well, but it wasn't helpful because of the technology, and it wasn't reliable. So, remember how you were in the middle of saying something and I jumped in too quick and it threw off your rhythm for speaking?
Yeah.
That's the problem I had with the iPad therapy, and it made it very difficult for me to take that. But I didn't have to feel like I was being, oh shit, I made that go out. I didn't have to feel like I was being violated to get therapy.
Exactly.
Because that was a very bad feeling, that place over here, okay?
Right. Unfortunately, that's the case more often than not. Yeah.
But I don't really think I needed therapy. If, more than anyone else anyway, I think I just need to move away from this place.
Right.
Because I had a friend that was locked up when he was like 16, 17.
Yeah.
Because he liked to smoke pot, right? And they used that, so they put him into a, drug rehab. Because, that's what you did to your, kid that liked to smoke pot.
Right.
And then it basically made him nuts because he was surrounded by people that were insane. And it was only later that one of the doctors was like, you are not insane. You just are mimicking the social atmosphere that you're in, which is a typical finding in those situations, is that you will act insane and be insane if that's the norm.
You're a product of your environment, and
that's correct.
Who surrounds you determines the energy you're with.
But I know this guy, and he's insane too. But I could see him be much worse if it was a situation where. Now, so down here, a matter of survival down here is to not be weak. And to not...
Weak as in...
A pushover.
Right.
They always mistake kindness for weakness. And I'm a very kind person in general. I'm very generous. And, that's just me.
Right.
So, I know how to be a good host. And other people don't. And I have a real problem with people that don't know how to be a good host. Trying to give me, like try to take advantage of me. Mistaking my kindness for weakness. And that happens a lot. So, with my experiences down here in downtown, the biggest problem for Skid Row is too many people using services that they don't need. So, I would say, of the homeless population that you see, at least a third, 33%, at least, maybe more, maybe as much as half, are not really what you would call in need, are not really homeless. What they're doing, some of them are just straight drug dealers, or pimps, running prostitution rings, or thieves. And they use the homeless that are actually homeless, which is heartbreaking to me, as cover. And they also take all the money that the homeless get. They,
And you found this through living here and being
and witnessing
these
these travesties of justice that is just extremely disheartening to witness, and especially when you then sometimes see people that think that they're doing good talking to people that are running prostitutes, crazy prostitutes, or that steal bikes, or anything really, that feed the badness. The pathology is fed by them and made worse, but they're used as examples of people that are in need and such, right? And that's tough for me to watch.
I'm sure.
And it's tough to hear people want to say things about sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, all that, right? Without assessing that a lot of that comes from the Frankfurt School and this postmodernism drivel that is a sign of the collapse of the Soviet Union and the last-ditch effort of the Frankfurt School people to reassess and reaffirm their belief system, which is proven by the 20th century to be a complete and utter failure. And identity politics was a means that they used. So instead of it being the classic Marxist doctrine and dogma that the rich take advantage of the poor and separate out people that way, they switched it to white people take advantage of everyone else.
So you don't believe that there's any credence to
what?
The demonstrable fact that racism and sexism still exists and they're woven into our society, our political system, the way
the problem with that,
works.
I'm not saying that. The problem with that belief system is that it's an ideologue. And people have gone to the point where they will believe only things that fit into that space, and if they won't fit into there, they suffer what's called cognitive dissonance, and they are not able to admit when they're wrong. So some of the things that they're saying are accurate, and I can verify that, having been an extremely anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-homophobe, a defender of the weak and the small my whole life, to the detriment of my own life, to witnessing that it goes both ways. To say that racism doesn't occur the opposite way is totally inaccurate. And I witness it consistently down here in Skid Row. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that that doesn't exist. What I'm saying is that identity politics is the wrong way to go because it's racist. And to use identity politics as a mean, and for people to say that they are able to speak for the trans community or the black community simply because they're trans or they're black is totally, without being an election or anything, is exactly what racism is.
Interesting. I would like to say something with regards
Just
to
say
that.
it.
Yeah,
Sure.
so...
Just hold on one second. Let me finish this, okay? Because if it's deep, I might cry, and I don't want to spill it.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying, and the idea of reverse racism, where, like, for example, people of color can be racist towards white people. I think it depends on. Wow, thank you.
That's
Depends.
your table, exactly.
Perfect.
And I have a
To me, that's
cloth
not.
napkin for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
To me, if we're understanding, if we're defining racism, not just in terms of it being person to person, interpersonal, you know, on the individual level, not only on that level, but also in terms of power and how our society is structured.
Yeah,
Then-
you're giving me straight dogma from the Frankfurt School about power and postmodernism. You're giving me exactly what is not right about it, just so you know. And the reason that that's inappropriate in this
Just
instance.
so you know, the way you're addressing me right now feels very
Microaggression?
ideological. No, it feels dogmatic. You feel very entrenched in the way you see the world as you're attacking the entrenched way.
I believed exactly the same thing that you believed until the scales fell from my eyes finally, and I realized, this is what is different about the world.
What caused that to happen? The scales falling from your eyes.
Well, for me, what happened was, I spent a long time by myself because I was growing weed where it wasn't legal. Now, it's one thing to grow weed where it's legal. You can just grow weed.
Yeah.
But I was growing weed on the East Coast where it wasn't in any way, shape, or form in Maryland.
Yeah.
So I was forced to, be by myself, not socialize, be very careful about everything, even Facebook and stuff,
Right.
Kept to myself.
Short.
Plus, I was in England for 4 years in prison.
Wow.
Well, 3 years in prison and 1 year visiting. Well, whatever, however you want to look at it. 35 months in prison for methylene dioxymethamphetamine. And then,
That you had taken or were.
well, no, I was selling it,
Oh.
but I got it there. I mean, it was wide open drug market.
Yeah.
And then I grew weed on the East Coast, and then I kind of came out of my, self-imposed societal exile when I moved out here to grow weed legally
Yeah.
and to study comedy via the Comedy Store. And I'm thinking to myself, these kids are saying things that I used to say, but instead of them seeing me as a fellow fighter of inequities, I'm immediately judged to be a right-wing Republican redneck, and I'm immediately like, well, wait a second, they're doing to me what they're saying that shouldn't be done. So I started to suss it out on my own. I sussed some of it out, figured it out on my own, some of it. But then I started to check out YouTube. Ben Shapiro was, I think, the first one that no, this is how it happened. I didn't know who Milo Yiannopoulos was. I didn't say it right, but Milo, I didn't know who that was. You know who that is. Milo Yiannopoulos? No. A very controversial right-wing, alt-right figure. Right? I didn't know who that was, so I looked up that person. I was like, wow, this guy is pretty nutty. And then from watching him, I watched him, and then I watched Ben Shapiro, and then I happened, luckily, on Jordan B. Peterson, and then that helped me to understand what was going on. And once I understood what was going on, it was really hard for me to go backwards, and it was very difficult because of the way they set it up with identity politics. It's very hard to be listened to nowadays if you're a white male and if you're over 40.
Well, do you have an idea of why that is?
Because of the Frankfurt School.
You, as a white male, saying something like racism and sexism are dogmatic.
I never said that.
figments of
I didn't
the
say that
Frankfurt
ever.
imagination.
I didn't say that at all.
That's what it sort
I
of
never
sounded
said
like.
that. I never said that. See,
Okay.
I said that identity politics
Define
not
what do
a-
you mean by identity politics?
it means to separate us out as being that you're a woman and you're white and you're blah 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 down the lines, or that you're a disabled. Like I could be
I think
male.
it's seeing clearly the fact that our society separates us in that way.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are. It's
Biology does.
It's no,
For sex.
no.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, but also
Do you know how it's shown?
Also, our hormone levels are a spectrum.
Yes, our hormone
Gender
levels,
is
sure.
a spectrum. But even
Is it a spectrum, or is it something that was, I mean, what do you believe as far as science? I know.
I mean that natural human expression of whatever it is you feel spiritually, physically with your sex is naturally a
about
spectrum.
sex?
But our
Or
society.
you mean about sex, like what makes you, what sex you're attracted to? Is that what you mean? Or
I mean, that's part of it. But also, gender and sexual orientation, I think, naturally are a spectrum, but our society has created two very rigid boxes. And now people are becoming able to actually reverse that, defy that, and say, no, we don't fit.
how is that?
It's great, thank you.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I was gonna put the camera, but I was like, that's not fair to put a camera on somebody as they're eating, right? So I'll wait until you finish, and then the camera can go back on you. And Max, as you can see, is enamored of the fact that you're eating, and all he wants is something to eat. Max, no, you're on a diet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do have one question though.
Absolutely.
So, thank you for this food.
Hey man, I'm in the middle of podcasting. Are you downstairs? Hello? Are you downstairs? Can you hear me? Are you downstairs? Are you on your way here? Okay, cool. Call me when you're downstairs. I'm in the middle of podcasting with Cassie, okay? Call me when you're downstairs. Bye. Reset hi. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
What was the question?
This instinct it feels like you have to resist dogma, right? To be entrenched in a state where you're not following anything as an ideologue. Like you don't want to do that, right? Be dogmatic, exist.
I don't want to not be able to listen to someone else's
Correct.
viewpoint.
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct.
But it feels like whatever I say will be within the logic that I've expressed to you will be shut down as the dogma of Frankfurt School. And that puts you in the situation of the very thing
Exactly.
you're not wanting.
Exactly.
You're
And that's the
criticizing
whole,
about
and that's exactly
my
the
side.
and that's
So-
exactly the point. Is that is exactly what identity politics does in regards to racism. Is it takes racism and it makes it okay as long as you're not a white male, and it allows people to be broken down. And it does, from what I've witnessed.
Disagree.
Okay, well, tell me your disagreement, but that's my point. I'm wanting you to
Well, it's
see.
because I understand. I've been led to be shown. I've been shown through data
Data. I love data. Hold on.
that
Can you tell some of the data into the mic as you're eating? Because I gotta go to the bathroom. Sorry. Apologies.
it's okay. Honestly, I'm just gonna eat.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Old man bladder.
Sorry, Max. It's terrible. Huh?
back. I'm ready.
Quick. I guess it's that it just goes back to the understanding of it not just being like something you do to another person, but rather the system that operates in the social system, political system. So racism isn't just a one-on-one or group-on-group thing, but it has to do with power.
I can see that.
Right.
That's all you were going to say?
Yes.
Okay, so you're speaking of systemic racism ingrained in organizations in bureaucratic form, correct?
Yeah. Institutions.
What institutions do you think are currently, not in the past, but currently today, facing systemic racism as you describe it?
Well, the prison system, which is shown reflects in the numbers of people who are disproportionately policed, surveilled, and imprisoned, which is like black men aged 25 to 30. Actually, a quarter of black men in that age range are imprisoned or have been before.
Right.
Versus.
I've been in prison.
Yeah.
In England, I was in prison.
True. Statistically, you are less likely to be in prison than a black man.
Here's some interesting statistics for you, if you like statistics.
Right.
Currently, 73% of all African American households are single parent.
Right.
That's not good. That's not good.
Because men are being taken.
No. Sorry. It's been going on and it's been increasing. At the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement, it was only 24% of African American households, right? All races across the board have increased single parent households. Not just black people, African Americans, but also Hispanics, white people. All of them have risen. This has, in my opinion, been to the lack of proper feminism, as expressed by Camille Paglia, right, who I believe has got it pretty much spot on about how it's incorrect to judge someone as being inefficient or unable to do something simply because of their sex, their color, all those things. I fully have been on that opinion since I was a little kid. I mean, I marched as a small child for the Equal Rights Amendment.
Yeah, and you and I may act individually as being not racist. By virtue of us being white in this society, we are contributing to a racist white superior system. Sorry,
that is babble. That is babble that is being spread by the Frankfurt School. That is the part that I have to call you on.
And sorry, at the moment, what you just said sounds pretty much like a mandate handed down from an ideologue.
No.
Yeah.
I have numbers, data. Well, I have data and numbers that you did say some data, you did say some statistics, okay? But I have a lot of statistics.
I would like
showing that. Showing. Well, we can. I'm happy.
We should exchange information.
I'm down. That's why you're here. That's what these podcasts are for. Because I want you to understand that. I know you have to leave in like the next very soon, and we have to show your last piece.
Yeah.
So I was going to wrap this up real quick and say, you didn't like the omelet. I'm sorry.
No, I'm full.
You're full?
Yeah. You gave me pasta.
Can I send that home with you?
That's okay.
You didn't like it then?
No, I loved it.
Okay, so I should send it home with you. I made it for you.
Thank you.
And we also have the cake, but I'll cut it and let you
take the piece.
Yes, take it with you.
Cool.
What I've enjoyed is that you have not assaulted me, even though I've expressed my own opinion, and I appreciate that a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's my problem with Antifa, is that's when I really realized, whoa, there's something wrong here. Antifa thought it okay to hit people with bicycle locks from behind.
Antifa.
we're supposed to be, anti-fascism, which sounds like a great idea, but that's where we got interrupted before. In the 30s, late 20s and 30s, it was red versus brown shirts in Germany. And it was that's the communists versus the fascists, okay? And the fascists were actually communism as well, National Socialists. That's the name of the organization that was Nazis, right? So the fascists and the communists would fight it out, like in pitched battles in Germany. And because of that loss of civility in the public spaces led to the rise of the Nazis and the Nazis taking over, and also contributed, in my belief, to many of the problems that followed in the Cold War, because people lost their ability to civilly discuss things with facts, as opposed to just basing it on emotion, which is like, really, emotion leads to tribalism. And
you don't think tribalism is the origin of how we existed as humans?
Exactly, and that's why it's not good. Because for thousands of years, people of different tribes war. And now we're at a situation where that we have hydrogen bombs. A hydrogen bomb, the trigger for a hydrogen bomb is an atomic bomb. That's how badass, in a bad way, a hydrogen bomb, how destructive and evil it is, okay? So we can't afford to be tribal anymore. We can't afford to go to war over tribal bullshit when we can destroy the entire planet and all life on it. That is my point.
Yeah.
We need to be able to discuss and figure it out without coming to blows. And tribalism leads to violence. That's just the way it's been for hundreds and thousands of years.
So, by your logic, the effort to see and clearly recognize that our society is delineated based on race and sex and such is...
It's not.
It is.
It's not. Okay, the way you make it sound...
It is written into law
in this country. It makes it sound like that, the way you're saying it makes it sound like it was set up specifically in this way, whereas
it was used as a tool to divide people.
What's the history? Where does slavery come from? How long has slavery been in existence?
Well, thousands of years.
Thousands
We're talking about
of
the
years.
transatlantic trade
Slave trade. And what was that based on?
Well, there were people enslaving other people in Africa.
Who was enslaving people?
There were African people enslaving other Africans, but then...
There were Arabs, right?
Right.
Enslaving non-Arab black people.
Yeah. You want to...
And then they were being sold to...
Yeah, correct. Slavery may not have started with the transatlantic slave system, but nevertheless, that's the origin of this country. That's what it was based upon: free labor, exploitation,
in actual fact, slavery was a horrible thing.
Slavery is a horrible thing that still exists today in different forms.
Well, no, slavery actually exists today in slavery forms, and it's again Arabs enslaving people of other cultures.
Correct.
Black or Orientals, or they don't have to necessarily be black, because anyone that finds themselves as an indentured servant in, say, Abu Ghab or in Riyadh or anywhere like that.
Or in Compton or in anywhere.
There's no indentured servitude in Compton, I'm sorry. There's not. There's no indentured.
That's what the economic system reflects now. People having to work to get basic rights, barely making it. I think it's slavery still exists, but now it is the way our economy works under the guise of free market capitalism, where everyone's individual role as a consumer frees them through their ability to choose what they want to buy. But the system itself is already imbalanced, and it's just another manifestation of you having to trade something that you have a right to, your time, your health, your energy, for money, what you
Have
need
you
to
ever
survive.
heard the expression, your rights are my burden, or my rights are your burden?
I have not heard that.
Do you, well, I'm assuming that just from hearing it, you can understand what it means.
Not entirely.
It means that having a right for freedom to be an individual means that the other person has the same right to be an individual, okay? The way I think it should be done, instead of looking at people's color, sex, people can look whatever. Actions speak louder than words. That's my opinion. And the true successful route to getting all this as figured out as we can would be to do a system based on that, as opposed to based on what sex you are, what color you are, all right?
It's not based on that. It's based on our ability to clearly see that that shit matters and has mattered throughout our entire history. If we ignore it, it will continue.
I don't think it
we just
matters
say
the way
magically-
that you think it matters. It matters only in the sense, here's how it matters, in my opinion.
Well, it's not about opinion whether it matters or not. There is data that demonstrates that all of these identities, which you say don't have credence, we should just do away with them. Yeah, ideally we wouldn't have these labels, but
wouldn't.
we have. Sure, I'm down for it. I'm down for moving towards a society that is peace-based, fearless. Everyone has their rights. We exist in communities. We uplift each other and heal together. But that cannot be realized if we ignore the fact that these identities still have huge effect on our lifespans, our access to the shit we need to live, right? You cannot deny that the identities have an effect. And I am with you in that eventually these identities can be part of our lives in a beautiful way, in the ways that we're different. And don't divide us, but rather bring us together as we all bring our different experiences together into a community.
I feel that it's already at that point where we have way more in common than we do, and that the only reason, like I said, in my opinion, that the identity politics, forgive me, is being used so bad is because of postmodernists, the Frankfurt School, and the neo-Marxists, okay?
And that's where we disagree.
And I'd love to leave it on a cliffhanger. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been Cassie Allen Shultz. She's been one of the most wonderful guests a person could possibly have on any podcast or a TV show for that matter. And thank you very much, Cassie. She has a time constraint, so she has to be out of here by 7, and that's 8 minutes from now. And I'm going to spin the camera around so they can see you again if they didn't see you earlier, okay? Hi, Cassie.
Hi.
Cassie, thank you so much for the discussion. The amount of enjoyment that I've got from having this conversation with you, and I want you to understand something, that this is the first time that I've had this conversation with someone that is from, obviously, the other kind of proverbial side, okay? And that's great, because we did not, it is.
I hope.
We didn't come to blows.
No.
And I hope that you'll come back and continue this discussion with me.
Yeah, well, we could definitely exchange the data we were talking about. So I would like
More
to
interesting
see.
that we have people watch and learn, because there are a lot of things people need to learn, and people that are on opposing viewpoints being able to talk rationally without coming to blows is what people need more of.
Right. Well, don't get me wrong. I feel a rise when I hear you saying that the idea that these identities don't come to bear, like...
I didn't say that, see? I didn't say that. I said it's possible now.
What I'm hearing is that for you, the source of the problem is identity politics. And for me, the source of the problem has already been there. And identity politics is the ability to see what's going on and continuing with that knowledge in mind.
Okay. But before you leave, if you wouldn't mind, I really want to show this last piece of art that she brought. Okay, so I'm gonna get it for you. I'm gonna get it because you got the attachment on you. All right. So I'm gonna present it, and then you tell me. Point the camera at me. Hold on a second. Before you do, is that right side up or the other way?
Correct.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay, go ahead. Point the camera at me. So I got it on. We got it on. Okay, ready? This is a whole different kettle of fish as far as the other 4 pieces of art that we saw from Cassie Allen Shultz. I love all those, and then this one.
Bring it in closer.
Yeah, I'm trying to
The
get it. Yeah, the light. The light's a little. Oop, 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 wrong way. And the name of this one is.
Guardian.
To me, I told you that night, this painting, to me, looks like what you see as you come out of a wormhole.
Wow. Yeah. It's definitely got that galactic feel.
No, it does. It does have the galactic feel.
Yes.
And how long ago did you paint this one, Cassie?
That one was, again, late last year. I don't know exactly the month, but that info is on my website.
And your website again is CassieAllenSchultz.com?
Correct. That's it.
Awesome. Cassie, thank you so much for coming and being my guest on Obstreperous Eccentric. Anytime. And we're going to stop streaming right now, and we're going to leave you with this as your... Here, let's turn that light off first. That's on the switch on the cord. You can push it. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's see if it'll... block the... There we go. All right, and we're going to stop streaming on this. Thank you guys so much.